Welcome to the Faith Snacks Podcast, bite-sized snacks to grow your faith. I am your host, Chris Adams. Thank you for joining me, and let's get in today's program. Welcome to the podcast, and today we are going to start a new format of the way doing things. Used to, we had very short, 3-5 minutes at the most things, but we're going to go a little bit longer and get a little bit more in-depth with some things. Today, I'm going to start with a quote that I heard. I've actually heard it a couple different places. I've read it in a book, and I've heard someone say it online. But it goes basically that Jews don't really take Christians seriously because they judge a rabbi by how their students act. And when I first heard that quote, I kind of just thought, man, that just hits you. I was like, wow, people are judging Jesus by how I act. And, at first it made me think, man, I need to be on guard and I need to keep my be on my best behavior. But then the more I thought about it, the stupider it sounded. And here's why it sounds stupid. There's 3 reasons why this actually sounds stupid. And I'm not disparaging Jews at all. I'm just saying that their line of thinking is incorrect. Now, they may have a rebuttal, and I'd love to hear from them, actually. But here's the thing. 1, this is stupid. How is this stupid? Number 1, think about it in these terms. When we look at the military, we don't look at a military and judge, how great a military is by their washouts. We don't judge how great a military is by their weakest link. Look at professional musicians. If you take maybe Beethoven or a professional musician that's out touring today, and you take one of their top 10 hits and how great it sounds, but you go get a teenager or someone who's a part-time weekend musician and you hear them butcher that song, you don't automatically think, wow, Beethoven totally reeks, or that top 10 musician is terrible. No, you don't do that. You say that individual isn't that great. That individual needs to be get some work done. You don't say that the professional, the one that has perfected the thing, is terrible. Also, think about this. Gandhi, and I've heard this said several times. In fact, to be honest with you, I don't even know if it's true. I need to actually probably look into it more, but Gandhi was once said to has visited Britain, and because he was wearing the traditional Indian apparel at the time, tried to go into a church in Britain, and they told him to go away, change his clothes, and he could be welcomed back. And so he left, never came back, and said that I would have been a Christian if it wasn't for Christians. Now that makes a point. That's not judging Jesus by these people, but it gives us a way to think, how are we treating other people? And the Bible specifically talks about this in James, about how not to prefer someone who's rich against someone who's poor. And goes in depth in that. You can go read that in James 2. I believe it's 2 or 3. But if you actually think about Gandhi's quote and then look at Gandhi, well, Gandhi was a terrible Hindu. I'm thinking that. Don't get me wrong. He might have been a great Hindu. But Gandhi was a huge sex pervert. And unless, Hinduism allows sex perversion, which they may, I haven't studied it, you know what? He was basically saying the same thing about Christians that he was about himself. But then it comes to the last part of why I think this is a stupid train of thought. If you look at Moses versus the children of Israel, Moses did one thing, the children of Israel did something else. Moses was up on the mountaintop, and he was fellowshipping with God for 40 days. He was up there for actually longer than that. But he was up there, and he came down, not because God was done with him, but he came down because the children of Israel decided to make a golden calf. Now, if I'm going to judge the followers of God by what the children of Israel did while Moses was up on that mountain, I would say there's no reason to follow God. Look at these evil people dancing around, having orgies, naked as can be, worshiping a cow. I wouldn't do that. If I was to look at Abraham and then judge the children of Israel down through the lines who went after the gods of Babylon. That wouldn't be right. I would judge God by what God says, not by what his followers did. Makes sense to me. Tell me if I'm wrong. Number 2, the reason why this is stupid. If you're going to be basing your behaviors as a Christian on what someone says besides Jesus Christ, then you're pretending to be just like the world. The world bases its behavior, its opinions, its way that they're acting on what others think, on what someone who has influence says is the way to go. Basically, they're being fake. And if we're basing how we act on what others say or what others think, if someone says, hey, you need to be just like your master, so I think that you're great, your master is great, then you're being like the world. We should be obeying the Bible not because we want to prove to someone else that this is great. We should be obeying the Bible because we love God, we believe the Word, and we want to obey the Bible. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get everything right, but that also brings us to point 3. This whole idea points out perfectly what Jesus said. We can't live life by ourselves. We have all fallen short of the glory of God. None of us are perfect. Doesn't matter if you're a Jew, if you're a Christian, whoever it may be, a Hindu, no religion at all. None of us are perfect. We cannot keep the law. God had a measuring stick, and that measuring stick was Jesus, and none of us actually came up to that measuring stick, and that's why Jesus had to come. Jesus was perfect. His teachings are perfect. He is the measuring stick, and we all fall short. I mean, that's why he came. That's the essence of why he came, to redeem us, to pay the price he couldn't pay. And so when we think about this idea of what I've heard Jews say, and of course I could be wrong, but I've heard it from some reputable sources that I trust, that they say that they judge a rabbi by how by his students act. That's just kind of stupid. That's some faulty logic, to be honest with you. And sure, it's great to think, man, we should be acting better as Christians, so that we can give a good impression onto people, but that's not why we should be acting good. We should be acting good because the love of God is shed abroad in our heart, because the Holy Spirit is indwelling in us, giving us the ability to live the Christian life, and we love God and we want to obey the Bible. That's why we should be being like Jesus. Not because some external force says, hey, you need to act better. So, that's what we got today. Something for you to think on, for you to dwell on. And we will see you back here next time. Not sure when it's going to be yet. Not sure what the pattern of releasing these is going to be like. But we will see you next time, and have a great one. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to stay in touch or get connected, you can find me online at www.chrisadams.com. And there you can find all the different social media networks I am on. Thank you for joining me again, and I will see you back here next time.